People of the world, this podcast, the Reef podcast, is designed to be what it's like after a Reef aquarium trade show or aquarium trade show has ended and we're all hanging out in the hotel lobby or at the bar or in somebody's room and we're having real discussions about real Reef stuff that you don't really get in talks and you don't really get on the trade show floor. This is about when people are relaxed and they're saying whatever they feel like saying. The thing about that is sometimes you get what people think are bad words. But ask yourself this: are you going to get and let a few bad words get in the way of you having success with reefing? Don't fucking do that. This is Reef Beef. My name is Rich.
And my name is Ben.
And today, on a very special Reef Beef, we have a special guest, Salem Clemens, who is going to talk to us about what he knows and what he doesn't know. And we're going to talk about the hobby in general. It's a meta hobby discussion show. So buckle up and welcome to the show that is brought to you by saltwateraquarium.com, Champion Lighting and Supply, and powered by PolypLab. This is Reef Beef.
Salem, you came up on the radar for me, I don't know, less than a year ago. I, in my head, was like, who is this dude? You just sort of like came out of nowhere, it felt like to me, but I paid attention to the words coming out of your mouth, and quite quickly I was like, dude is smart. So I was like, so I'll listen. But so you're on Reef Builders team, and you have a lot of cool things to say about microbiology and ways that we're reefing. You possibly helping lead a new direction in things, which I think is super interesting.
Potentially, if things work out. But that's if they work out. You know, there's I think I'm just saying what I think, and what I think can change based on the knowledge that I have. I think what I think is that there's probably some issues with what we're doing, and we should analyze our base assumptions with everything.
See, and this makes me so friggin' happy because for so long, most of the new people who come onto the scene to have things to say about reef aquariums say definitive things about how things work and what people need to do to be good. And that makes me insane. There's too many ways to skin this cat. And there's too much we just don't know. And people get so excited about whatever the new possibility is, they immediately start pushing that out as if this is what we should do and this is the direction. And you didn't do that. So that's what I was scared of, right? So some people are like, oh, he's 22. And I was like, who gives a shit that he's 22? That doesn't matter at all. Brilliant people do stuff in their 20s. It's not, the age has got nothing to do with anything. You know, I remember being the new guy on the scene, but I was old by then too. So, but we should embrace new people instead of fight new people. What I want to know is the credibility of the new people. I don't care their race, their gender, their age. I don't care about any of that. I want to know what they've got to say. And so the questions that really come for Salem are, you know, that people may not know is, what's your experience? And what do you think you know? And what do you think you don't know? I'd love to explore that kind of stuff just so people, you know what we know about you. And kind of understand. What I think is happening is you're getting guru status very, very quickly. And I think you're being very careful not to say things that you don't know.
Yeah, so first I'll comment on the guru thing, because that was on the ass end of it, and that's fresh in my mind most. So I don't want to be a guru, right? I don't want to be guruified. I don't want to be put on a pedestal of like, you know so much about this. It's like, I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude. I'm a dude. Like, we're all dudes. Like, there's people out there. I'm just a person. And I spend a lot of time reading about this shit. You know, that's what I've done. I've dedicated my time to reading a stack of papers, and I try to read a couple papers every day, and I'm always in the process of learning and growing and learning more. And there's a lot that we don't know as a people, right? There's plenty of new things to explore. So I think, like, my philosophy on things is that there is always something else, right? There's always a bigger fish. There's always something to chase. There's always something new to learn. It's a constant march of progress to learn more, and we should never stop learning. And I think there's like a lot of dogmatic thought in the industry and in people as well, to where they have these attachments to ideas And I think where I come from is kind of this perspective to where there's not a lot of attachment to really any ideas besides the fact that we should learn and have progress and we should question things. So I would like to interject, yeah, skepticism, which like you have been doing that. And I think that that's good. Like the skeptical reef keeping stuff, we need to bring that back and put it in the public eye. And I think people need to be completely open to rethinking everything, because the only way we're ever going to progress somewhere better is looking like sometimes you have to rebuild things, you know? I think there's a lot of good methodologies that exist right now. I think there's a lot of potential for new methodologies. I think there's ways to tweak old things. I think it's time to kind of have this metamorphosis now that there's like, you know, this perfect kind of coming together of technology and know-how and communication through the interwebs. And we've got, you know, an army of people that can test ideas with a way to generate data to test those ideas. Let's start testing some ideas. Why is now the time to buy one brand, listen to one person? Like, we need like an ecology of practices, of ideas, of things to implement, and we got to change some shit. So I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot. I know some about some things, and I don't want to be a guru. Don't take what I'm saying as true. Take what I'm saying as a reflection of what I currently know and understand to be maybe true.
Yeah. Let me talk for a minute about the guru, because I know Ben and I have both been called gurus, and I know I fought against it really hard for a long time. And then I kind of just rolled over when I'm tired. Like when people call me Dr. Ross, I just go, yes, thank you. It's, you know, no, I don't want to have, I don't want to have an argument more about what the realities are. So, and also I think if I would embrace the guru status, I'd be much more famous, whatever the hell that means. But by refusing to give easy answers, and not go, yeah, you should listen to me because of what I have to, because it's me. It definitely limits the audience, because people want to be told what to do, and they want to believe the people that are listening to know everything. And I get conflicted on it, because it would be so, but it'd be so much easier. My classic example is that I could make so much money in this hobby if I made a homeopathic series of Reef tinctures, and they would sell like hot motherfucking cakes, because that's how it works. And I just can't bring myself to do it, you know, because it's icky. It's just a money grab,
douchey,
and a fame grab. But then sometimes I go, you know, would that be okay? I don't know. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how you thread the needle, and how people coming onto the hobby nowish are gonna deal with that kind of stuff as it goes. I think you guys are. Oh, you were gonna talk. Go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking it's like, yeah, the thread the needle thing. I think there's a balance there between those ideas, right? So, because obviously people do want guidance, you know, they want to be told what to do. So I think there's a balance of encouraging them to make their own informed decisions, but you can be the person that can help inform that decision, right? You're not saying do this, but here's what we know about this. Here's the good, here's the bad, here's the objective point of view that I can provide based on what I know, and then you decide what to do. I think that's kind of where to go with it.
Yeah, I don't want to poison you. Often the response to that is fuck you.
Yep.
maybe it'll change, you know, maybe, I keep saying about, culture in the world that, the old people, well, right now, the old white people all just need to die so we can move on to something new. And in a sense, the old white people in the hobby kind of need to make space for newer voices. And right now, I think a lot of the newer voices are influencer voices, which I think are kind of useless in a big way. They're useful in a non-practical way, I think. So I'm excited to see new voices that aren't going down the influencer path.
The influencer thing, they bring eyes onto the hobby. But it's weird, and I'm not putting myself or my knowledge on a pedestal, but it's weird when you see someone who's been doing this for maybe 5 years but has like 1 million followers, and people are acting like they're experts. And I'm not myself saying I'm an expert, but I've been around for a while. And people are like, oh, did you hear so-and-so said this? And it's just like, man, I'll just be honest and say, some of the times I think like, man, I could school this person that you're holding up as a hero. Like, it just feels weird sometimes.
I think that's what's unique, though, about this perspective that we seem to all share. Look what you just said. You've been doing this professionally for how long, Ben?
25, no, 30
years.
Yeah, like
30,000
like
years.
3 billion decades, right? Like you've
Yeah.
got this massive experiential knowledge. And what did you just say? I don't call myself an expert.
No,
There's
because
that I
well,
can
it's
learn more, and there's like humbleness with it. There's
but
saying
it
that-
is one of those things, like the more you learn, you're like, holy crap. When you get a peek at what you don't know, and you're like, oh my God, this is not it's not possible to be an expert on pH and disease and installing large systems and small systems and talking gainfully with people and running a business, and your head explodes.
And then anyone that claims they're expert doesn't know enough. You pass that threshold to where finally you stare at the abyss and it stares back and you're like, holy shit, we know nothing. We know nothing at all.
I'm pretty good at aquariums. That's what I'm comfortable saying.
Yeah. I'll say I'm pretty good at keeping things alive in boxes, and I'm expert in a few slices of that. And I'll tell you where those edges really are, because, you go to a conference, a science conference, and anybody who gets up to speak, they go, I'm going to speak about X. And I'm sure there's 20 people in the audience who know more than me about this already. So, everyone qualifies everything because that's what you should do. Anybody who's telling you this is the way is leading a cult. They're not actually trying to help you. And the problem with that is that we got back to, is that we mentioned earlier, is that when people are new to a hobby, they want to be told what to do.
Or they sort of need to be told what to do to a certain degree.
Well, they want to be told what to do in lieu of doing the work. They're looking for the magic answer that will make it better and easier and faster.
The KFC dip.
Yeah, right. Whatever the moonshine, whatever makes it easier. And all of the methods can work. I've said before, I don't think it's got to do with the method in particular. I think it's got to do with paying attention to your system. And if somebody's telling you to pay attention in this way, you are paying attention.
This hobby, I don't care who you are, what capacity you have to hold information in your brain, but this hobby is a lot to take in. So it's intimidating. It's intimidating when you just step in the room and it's like, oh, tell me about lighting. And it's like, there's a million things we could say.
Yeah, but all hobbies are intimidating when you step into it at the beginning. Every single hobby you do, even fucking the easiest, not the easiest, but like the safest thing, needlepoint, right? Go do a search for beginning needlepoint, and you will see the flame wars that we have over needlepoint.
Yeah,
because everything's got its minutia and its details and its opinions from brown belts, and it's all got that stuff. So, the way I would like to guide people is, you want to learn about reef keeping, get a 10, 20, 30 gallon all-in-one system and play with that for 6 months to a year and learn on that. That's how I want people to get in the hobby. When people come to me and say, give me the answers, it's like, no, this isn't, you're not cutting a board. Cutting a board, I can give you straight up directions to make a cut on a board and you can follow them. Putting together a tank that you're relying on biological filtration that we kind of can't really test for anything anyway, you've got to understand it. You've got to get a feel for it. It's not the same as, putting together a snap together model, which people fuck up with all the directions.
A Lego kit.
So, okay.
So what we need?
What do we need?
Here's what I think based on this conversation. This is what I've reflected on, scratching my chin here.
Put your glasses back on when you say
the glasses are coming back on. We need the sophistication back.
There we go.
This takes into account both of what you've said, which I think is valid. So I think Ben's argument is very valid that people need guidance to some extent, but I also think it's equally valid and not mutually exclusive that experience is a teacher. Experiential knowledge, huge in this. So, kind of taking what I said earlier with maybe the way forward is to present people with objective information of here's everything we know about this, you decide. We need the objective guide to reef keeping. Something in lieu of like the BRS 52 weeks of reefing. We cover every topic, but we cover every way to skin the cat. We say, here is every way you could solve this problem. Here's like a 90-part fucking series that's like, this is it. This is all of the information. You have it now. Here, and then you update it as new methods come out. Oh, aquabiomics exists now. What the fuck's going on with that? Maybe this. Maybe we
Yeah,
can
but
look
that
at
wouldn't be in a printed format then. It would be something online.
It could be either. It could
and
be either.
that's more accessible now, too.
Yeah, but if it was printed, the second it was printed, it would be outdated.
Well, the second anything is published in any medium, it's outdated.
Yes.
It's
always a work in progress.
Right, which is part of the. I think kind of people understand that with stuff in print because they can kind of see when it was printed, but videos are kind of evergreen. You know, you mentioned the 52 weeks. The problem with the 52 weeks is it's going to be 52 weeks forever. You know, there's no dates on that. There's no way to know when it was done. So you can kind of go, is there anything new? And you know, how is a new person supposed to figure out what they're supposed to look at and what they're not supposed to look at? So I'm not against what you're saying. And this is why I'm excited when new people come in the hobby, because I am stuck in my own loops of why or why not to do things. And, you know, probably the answer to a lot of it is, why are you thinking that hard? Just do stuff.
Yeah, we just have to do this. I think we could do it. I think we get a collective of people to do it, right? It's kind of like the Socratic seminar thing. We have a group of people with varying perspectives. Here's the way I do it. Here's the way I do it. Here's the 10 ways to skin the cat. Chapter 2, pH. Here's the 10 ways you could manage it. Here's the pros and cons of both. This is really expensive. This is more practical. Outside air. Maybe pollen's an issue. Chris Meckley's going crazy about that. You know, like have every little angle to it. Have a date on there and say, here is when this was up to date at this point. This assumes all the knowledge we have collectively at this point. Come back in 2 months and see if there's more.
This sounds like a wiki page. Isn't that thing, wiki page we were considering
it could be
doing?
like that. There could be video components. There can be a write-up component. You can have a forum commenting type of thing for a discussion. It's an open source way to reef. No money involved, no bullshit. The goal is to inform the consumer, inform the reefer. So you tell them, go out and get your tank for 6 months. But if you have questions, here it is.
The sticky part to that is the same thing I've found with Reef Beef, where Richard and I made this Reef Beef thing, and then we started running into expenses and started running into time things. And it's like, man, we cannot do this for free. And then the second you start charging anything, people are like, oh, you're trying to make money. And it's like, you know, you have to be compensated for your time putting in to do things. So anything like that, anything where you need like a subscription to get in to read that or something like that, you know, you're going to have detractors that are saying this is just a money grab, as if anyone can just provide info for free.
You can't say what?
4 workarounds to that.
Let's hear them.
Crowdfunding.
Yep.
Voluntary donation that pops up like on Wikipedia that annoys the fuck out of you, but it's still voluntary. Advertisements on the website, ad revenue. If there's a printed version, we make money off of that. And there's going to be reprints, as you said. We use that to our advantage. Ever evolving knowledge. Volume 27, it's still $20.
Good.
Has to come multiple ways.
Good, because I've been through volunteering and watching people volunteer to do stuff for free for the hobby, and it almost always ends horribly because people have lives and their interests change, and it's hard to keep people doing stuff for any amount of time that takes time and effort, basically for free, especially with the rash of shit that will inevitably rain down upon everybody involved.
Yeah, the second it happens and someone on the team is like, I'm doing this for fucking free.
Yeah, why am I? Well, the thing is, every level, I mean, we started this show. This show started with just me and Ben on Zoom, babbling, publishing. Done. We're done. No editing. That was the whole impetus was we're not doing any work with this. You are getting the raw show. And then Snowman was like, I can make this better and easier for you guys. And we went, okay, we're not going to do it. If you want to, drive that, go ahead. And so the whole sponsors and membership, which I think is the right way to go. I like people having a minimum barrier to entry that they have to choose to pass to be part of the conversation. So your 4 workarounds all involve money to fund it, because I think that's really important. And I agree. I think the only way to get any of this stuff done is with a consortium, with a league, with a institute. There's too much to do for one person or a couple of people to do long term. And even more, I am so tired of Reef silos. And we've been talking about this a bunch lately, but we've been talking about this for years. So tired of outlets not allowing links to other creators and other voices, and not sharing links. Just fucking makes me crazy, because how are we ever going to move forward if we're insulating ourselves intentionally, especially so the owners can make money, and make an echo chamber where nothing really moves forward in any kind of helpful way. It's like we don't need to claw ourselves forward because we're not allowed to read this book.
And also
read the book. If this book is better than what I'm giving you, stop talking to me.
At the level that we're at, this industry is unbelievably tiny. I don't even know how to quantify it. Does anyone know? It's like maybe a couple tens of thousands, if that.
No, there's millions.
No, of like long-term saltwater reef hobbyists.
I don't even know how to.
Not aquarium itself. Then you have freshwater. Then you have saltwater. Then you have people who have 5+ years of saltwater aquarium reef keeping, and not only that, but people who consume shows like this and like reef therapy.
The people who are committed enough to where they're in it for the long haul, and they also have the drive to learn on their own.
Like 10,000, 15,000, if that.
It's hard
at least
tell.
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing to do, so I think, the roundtables that I've been trying to talk about for years, which I think is going to happen now. I'm going to make it happen now, because I think there's enough people who are like-minded who want to do it and see the utility of it and understand what it is. I'd be very excited if that actually happens, but I think the way into it is with video, and then support of the video on a website somewhere. I get really nervous about forums, because
same shit, different day.
Yeah.
I also used to think that they were great because you could go back and read, but the truth is most of the stuff in any thread is completely useless.
It is.
So you've got to read a 100-page thread to glean 2 things that were on page 2. And it's kind of like, oh, is this really a use, and we have a Discord for Reef Beef, and that was hard to shift gears into, but I kind of understand it now as a pub. And you walk into a pub and you say hello and ask your questions. You don't go to the back of the pub and listen to what's been going on in the pub for the hour before you showed up. You just ask the questions. And sometimes most of the time people go, oh, we were just talking about that. This is what we thought. Or they just answer your question, or they go, oh God, we've done that to death recently. So you're going to have to give us a day, and then we'll get back to this.
Well,
and I find that better than threads, because the threads and forums age out, but you don't necessarily know that they've aged out or not.
And I get the whole thing with like sticky notes or archives or all that, and I never did. See, it is funny because each one of us has a different like tenacity for sniffing out the information that we want or not. And like it or not, a lot of us, when you're trying to learn something new, you feel a little bashful, but you feel a little, I don't even know if the word is lazy. Because like Richard, there's one show you were talking about recently where you were saying you wanted to know something about, maybe it was kite surfing or whatever it is. And no, it was about solar.
Yeah.
And you were like, look, I'm not asking anyone to do the research for me, but here's my issue. And can I get someone to just sort of point me in a direction? And then because the typical thing in a forum, people come in like, someone tell me how to keep this Achilles tang? And it's like, do you want me to chew your dinner for you and spit it in your mouth as well? Like,
Yeah.
but that attitude's tricky on forums because people there are trying to learn and they're confused. And you're just like, no, we already talked about that.
Right.
Okay.
Which is kind of what happened on the solar forum that I joined to ask a couple of questions. It was like, you're answering questions I'm not asking. I just want you to answer this thing. I don't. So I had to I was prepared for it. So I kind of shepherded. I knew that was going to happen. And so it was like, I was ready for my next version of the question to get the clarity I want. But it was really like pulling teeth, because the answer is nope, it doesn't do that. What you want to do doesn't happen. But it took like 3 weeks for me to get that. And even talking to like the equivalent of the LFS, it was like, I had to hammer on them so hard, and then they kept going, but I don't understand what you want to do. And it's like, I've explained it 10 times and you just don't seem to be reading my response, which I understand because you're busy and you already have my money.
Yeah.
So what am I saying? It's got to be fun. I've talked to Steve Berlin about this sometimes. It's got to be fun or it's got to give you money. And if it's not doing one or both of those things, it's not going to continue.
And I think we've identified we might need to filter the people involved with it to some capacity. There's trolls. There's people who don't want to do the work. Both, I think, could be equally, maybe not good in this situation.
Yeah. Well, I think in my head, and you've been part of some of these conversations, the easy way to start is to start and see instead of we got to have a right plan. I got trapped trying to make a plan a year or two ago, and it just made me insane. At the end of it, it's fantastic because at the end of it, I go, oh, none of that I was thinking of is actually going to work for these reasons for me. So, okay, why don't we just like this show? I can't believe we're on episode 115. We just tossed stuff at the wall to see if it would go. And I think even though when we're talking about doing it with more people and, in a core group and a rotating group and all of that kind of stuff, it does get scary to just toss stuff at the wall and hope. But also, isn't that the freeingest, most exciting time? We've got no real dog in the fight. We've got no real investment. Anybody we're talking to has already got a computer and a mic and a camera, so we can just do it and see if it works. So I'm actually, you're watching me amp myself up and get excited about this kind of thing, which I want to be.
I think it's time for the Aquarium Avengers to assemble.
Oh, I love it.
Can I be Thor?
This is this is cool because you're right. There's silos, right? So among the good creators, they are still compartmentalized. There's no open source flow of information. There's paywalls to them. Then you've got the top-down corporate control pushing the message. Fuck that. We need open source dialogue, discussion, fucking duke it out. What's good? What's bad? What's going to be good? What's going to be bad? Let's figure it out. Let's deterritorialize this bitch. We need a rhizomatic network, man. We need no endpoints, no organization. It's free form, free flow. That's what's good about it. We've got a loose goal or vision, but guess what? It's not teleological. We don't need an endpoint. We just got to go. We just got to, Nike, just do it. Let's fucking do it. Let's do it.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
3 weeks from now, I'm going to be graduated.
Oh,
let's just have a really big call.
Let's do it. Okay.
Let's just have everyone on a giant clusterfuck of a Zoom meeting and let's see what happens. And let's make it Reef Beef and let's have fun with it. Yeah. We have the social lubricant involved.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
SaltwaterAquarium.com has been our sponsor since the beginning. They've been very, very supportive of us, and we certainly appreciate that. We've been using them since before the show was a show. They're great. They've got a lot of stuff that you want, and they get it to you quick, and they get it to you easy. What else, Ben? What do you like about saltwateraquarium.com?
They have an app on your phone, and you can sit in your underwear and you can order things right here. Ultra CJ Ultra 9000 they have on their deal. And they have 3 locations across the continental United States, and they do that because they can get the products to you with a quickness.
Yeah, when I order something from the toilet in the morning when I'm waking up while I'm paying for my coffee, then it ships by 1 o'clock that day, and I get it the next day or the day after. So saltwateraquarium.com, use the link below, and thank you for supporting our sponsors.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
What is your practical background in the hobby? What have you kept? What haven't you kept? What do you... Oh, and then I'll follow up. The follow-up is, what are you comfortable giving advice about, and what are you not comfortable giving advice about? And I'll shut up.
Been in the hobby for a decade, believe it or not.
You started when
like-
you were 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty much.
he's young.
I was like 12, 13. I had like a little fucking cube, right? So like 5 years of that are probably not. There's like the experiential component. I grew up in Tonganoxie, Kansas, 20 acres of land. We had no internet. So I couldn't like research things. There was no LFS. So I went to Barnes and Noble and like bought all of these like books. Like I probably have them, but it's like the Berlin method was like the cutting edge at the time. So I like learned all these old school methods, and that's how I internalized it, because I had no other source of information besides these archaic text. And then I had like my mom's phone with 3G internet, and I could go on Yahoo Answers and ask questions. So I was like 14. I was like, Berlin method, does this work? Is this what people are still doing? And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, you're smoking crack. We're on the Zeovit method now. I was like, what is this shit? So I finally like got done with high school, entered college, you know, had a job, had discretionary income. And I was like, always liked this coral thing. And then I started chasing the dragon, became a bro reefer, holy grail torches, the whole 9. I was like, yeah, this is badass. You know, I got like 12 grand in my tank or whatever. Then it all died from brown jelly. I killed it all. Killed it all. And then I said, well, maybe I can do something about that. And then that's the whole research angle with it. But that's the whole different beast. So
We'll
then
get to that in a sec.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. I worked with a bunch of different shops. In Topeka, Kansas, there's not shit, but there was a Petco. And I worked at that Petco, and I pimped the hell out of that Petco. We had Regal Angels, Blue Spot Jawfish. I was doing copper treatments and like tank transfer in buckets and shit. Like I went and bought like Prezi and like Metro and was like actually like treating these fish. We had torches in there. We got coral. We had pods and Fido and like brine shrimp, like eggs. Like I was pimping this Petco.
Wait,
I had like a network of people that would come in and buy stuff. It was
Salem,
great.
let me ask you, if you would know, if you were doing that at a Petco, is that something you have to have permission from corporate to do?
Yeah, I said fuck that and did it anyways, because the health of the animals mattered more to me. And if I got fired for saving animals, then, you know, fuck that company.
Were you running the aquatics department?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that like the store manager, you just sort of let them know, like, I'm going to be doing this stuff. Just
Oh yeah, they were like, oh yeah, you know, that's your thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Petco's have traditionally had a lot of leeway depending on who works there, which is part of the problem with Petco. Because then when the Salem leaves that Petco, it turns into, you know, an abattoir almost overnight, you know.
Well, it's not McDonald's. Like they can't all have Big Macs. They can't all have Salems. They can't all have good saltwater departments.
Right. So but the interesting to me about what you just told us is that that's how Ben and I learned too. And that's how almost all the people that we talked to learned, that I've got to read these books and I've got to think about it myself. And then I've got to see how it works in reality.
Yes.
And it feels to me like the bulk of hobbyists don't learn that way anymore because, well, I guess if you want to start in this hobby, become 12 again, and then move to somewhere with no internet.
Yeah.
And then read a lot.
I was
No,
on that
but-
Walden's Pond shit, you know.
Uh-huh.
But it goes along with sort of a lot of the attitude today where, you know, someone's like, oh, I want a saltwater aquarium. And they're trying to go from 0 to 60 in like 10 days. And this is a terrible hobby for that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm gonna change myself a little bit here. Every hobby is terrible for that.
But is it? I mean, if you gave me
Yes.
a little bit of time, I could find some hobby that's okay for that.
Kiting. You gotta spend money on equipment, and you have no idea what you need and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. All you can do is listen to other people and hope that it works out. And then you just keep buying new stuff as you find out stuff doesn't work for you or doesn't work at all because, you know, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
A solar. There's so much bullshit out there with solar. It's so hard to know how to start or where to start. Everything is complicated and hard until you know about it. So I'm thinking, and we don't have to talk about this much anymore, but I'm thinking our idea that is prevalent in our hobby, that our hobby is different or harder than other hobbies because there's livestock involved, mostly seems to be the reason. I think that may be bunk. Like in kiting, there's not livestock involved, but there's my life involved. I mean, you know, getting my hand, arm, or fingers degloved is rare, but it is a real fucking thing for me to worry about in kiting. Not just
take like base
not just pop
jumping.
your finger off.
Yeah.
Have, you know, the glove of my skin gone, and I have, you know, I'm fucking.
No, I
know.
imagine like someone wakes up or they're looking through Instagram and like, oh, look at this pretty. People keep ocean stuff in a glass box. Man, I'm gonna get into this. But I'm thinking like base jumping, or people watch like someone in a fly suit and like, dude, this is my hobby. And it's like, I'm gonna be jumping off the Swiss Alps in 2 weeks. It's like,
dude, look at some of the tool videos or the how to build stuff videos. They're just as insane as our hobby, and you can kill yourself and your family and remove limbs. So yeah, I think we're on a tangent though about, but I think no, we're not that special.
I think we are.
Give it to us.
Okay, so everything you described is on your terms. What makes it different is it has all of that same level of difficulty, but it's also on the terms of something that's not you, that depends solely on you. So that means sometimes you have to sacrifice your own terms to an even larger extent to wake up and get your fucking rotifers ready to feed that clown at 3 a.m. Like I can go and do kiting whenever it's convenient for me, and there's known associations that are bad there or potentially dangerous, but the coral are not on my time. They're on their own.
I think I will split the difference with you.
Okay.
I think, and this is an important distinction for me at least. You can tell me to fuck off.
fuck off.
I think a trap we all fall into, and I do it too. Is that the people I talk to most of the time are representative of the entire hobby, and they're not. The people we talk to most of the time are 1,000 people in the hobby. Is the number we pulled out of our ass 25 minutes ago, and the hobby has got millions of people in it. And so I think the short way of saying this is, if you just have a tank with some easier corals and some easier fish, you're not waking up in the middle of the night to do rotifers. It is easier. You can make any hobby as stupidly, wonderfully stupid as you want to make it. And ours is delicious in the ability to go stupid. I mean, I just put more tanks in another room. I've got 3 rooms in my house. I've got fucking octopus in the other room. I've got metasepia here. I got baby coral and a display. And I'm thinking of doing something else stupid. So you can get stupid really quick. But I think most people in this hobby have a 40, 50 gallon tank with a couple of clownfish and whatever anemone they were told that they should have. And so I don't think they're trapped in quite the same way. I think maybe what I'm saying is it's just like any other pet. It's, you know, there's a little more complexity to it because it's a box of water, but you know, and that can leak, which is different than a hamster cage leaking. You know, if the hamster can't get out, who cares if it leaks? And now I'm talking about hamsters, and you should really fucking stop me.
Stop, Richard.
Look, we're trapped. This is imaginary, this dispute. This
Yes.
is fucking duality right now. But here's the thing.
Yes.
What we just explored is this is a spectrum. There is not a yes no. It correlates to the level of give a shit that you have. So people that are hardcore that are doing the rotifers, I think at that point the hobby becomes harder because they surpass that point to where they then are willing to sacrifice themselves for the animals. But other people don't give a fuck. So
Right.
there we go. Full
and
circle. There's no right answer.
There is no right answer, except to say that I think the hobbyists tend to make recommendations based on their experience. So people say, I got rid of my metal halides and everything was fine. So just get rid of your halide. Who cares, right? You don't need halides. And then somebody else goes, well, I had to buy heaters when I got rid of my halides, and that was a real pain in the ass for me. And it's like, yeah, of course, because you live somewhere, your base of operations is different. Everyone's is different. This is why the recipe book for reef keeping is so hard, because you've got to go through so many possibilities before you can actually give the recipe.
But that's also like, that's the same thing as choosing like an RODI unit, like what part of the country you live in and what is your tap water like?
Yeah, and do you need it? It's the same, yes. But even with RODI, people will tell you, and you guys both know this is true, they will tell you that you can't be successful if you don't have RODI. And it's like, I just do DI and I probably don't need to do that. Because
there's places in the country where you don't even need that. It's pretty rare, but
the recipe book, I probably don't need it here. The real reason I do it here is because I have copper piping. So I want to hedge that bet, right? Also, it's cheap and easy. And when I remember to do it, it makes me feel like I did something. Right now, my TDS has been running like at 29. I could look and tell you how long it's been doing that. And I'm not seeing any problems, which dovetails into what I was going to say before. You know, you don't actually have to grow rotifers unless you have something you have to grow rotifers for. But that easily gets converted into, you have to grow rotifers to keep a healthy tank. You have to add phyto. And it's like, no, no, that's all choices. It's all choices. And you get into the weeds very quickly.
So I think what we've alluded here through all of this is that what makes a good reef keeper, or one of those people that gives more of a shit, that it seems that all three of us share, and I'm not saying I'm good, but I am saying that all three of us are at least in a position to talk, right? Is there is a combination of more practical knowledge acquisition and then experiential. So like for me, I had this 5-year period where I kind of played around, but I learned all of this stuff. Then I went and worked at a Petco, and then I worked at another shop, and then I worked at another shop, and I got to put all of those things into practice. And I had the experience of working with big systems, with tiny systems, with picos, with fish, with coral, with NPS, with every invertebrate, dipping things, processing shipments, and then getting that experiential knowledge. And on the business side of things was a whole different ballgame. And now for the first time, I'm getting this experiential knowledge on the content creation side, and that's a whole different animal. One that I am very new to. I'm a little baby when it comes to that. Like, you know, so that's a whole new learning thing for me, is like, here's a new angle to all of it. I had the hobbyist angle. I had the shop owner angle. And now it's like, people are trying to make me a guru. And it's like,
yeah. And now, see, again, it's very similar to me and Ben. Then there's the maintenance angle is a great way to go, which Ben and I both did. Too. Yeah, you have to. Then there's the public aquarium angle, which can be a complete nightmare. But if you're at a place that's supportive of that, you guys are simpatico for at least a while, you know, the amount of experience I got at the public aquarium job I got, which I think was probably an insane lucky confluence of timings that the people who were there starting in 2008 all had for 5 or 6 years, you know, it's a whole different ballgame of, why am I doing this tank? What, you know, what people, when they go to public aquariums, don't, you know, they just run carbon. And, you know, Jake actually did that to me once. He was like, you guys need to run carbon. It was like, dude, you have no idea what's going on here. You know, Jake, carbon is not the answer here. And there's just so much involved in all of this. Or even a small focus tank. It's like, what's the point of this tank? The point of this tank is that it looks good for people every single day. So it's like a modified version of what Ben does. And so once you get that in your head, you stop going, well, I need to grow phyto for this tank. And you start going, no, I better fucking figure out how to control this algae now, because it's got to be fixed now because it's on display. So I'm babbling about there's a million, there's not a million, there's about 10 or 15 good places you can go to get experiences in the hobby. And I guess it's mostly weirdos that do that.
But that's what we need. We need all those weirdos to come together and explain this, to imbibe their wisdom on the population.
Yeah.
For the people that don't have those opportunities or time to get the experiential side in those crazy ways, but they could maybe be taught the best lessons, the TLDR from that.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
Champion Lighting and Supply. Champion Lighting and Supply. Yeah. Richard, we love Champion Lighting and Supply.
We do.
We definitely do. You know, one thing I love about Champion Lighting and Supply is because I run a maintenance company, and I have an account with Champion Lighting and Supply, and I get a lot of my dry goods from them, and I do appreciate that.
I like Champion Lighting and Supply because they're good for the planet. I'm sorry, let me put my ecological chew in my lip.
Oh, boy.
Save the planet.
Save the planet. Ecological chew.
I like Champion Lighting and Supply because they reuse cardboard boxes as packaging in the packages. So my packages is just cardboard instead of packing peanuts or plastic devil plastic.
I hate that devil plastic, Richard.
I hate that plastic devil plastic even worse.
Yes, sir.
Champion Lighting and Supply, please order from them and put crazy things in the notes. Crazy the better, because that's what they like.
Crazy poems about Champion Lighting Supply and Reef Beef. Thank you, Champion Lighting and Supply.
Thank you, Champion Lighting and Supply.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
Can I switch gears a tiny bit? So one of the things that Salem, before I met him, sort of opened my mind was I saw him talking about corals as a holobiome. And the first time I heard that, I was like, okay, Google time. But he explained it in the video. And I think this concept to me was so eye-opening because corals, and Salem, please correct me if I'm wrong about any of this that I'm saying, but that corals are a pretty rudimentary animal with not too many higher functions or abilities. So it's not your concept, but the concept that a coral is an animal that has to work in conjunction with bacterias and possibly funguses and all sorts of other stuff for functions they don't normally have was sort of a new concept for me. Because I just think about corals. Oh, that elegance coral there, you know, and you don't, well, to some degree, we stopped to think about the symbionts, what we used to call zooxanthellae, but now what Richard, what did we? Was it
we call them butt monkeys.
Butt monkeys.
Symbiodinium.
Symbiodinium. But you know, with all this aquabiome stuff and all this stuff about trying to understand more about the different bacterias and whatnot in the tank, I sort of feel like that's going to be the future. You know, how far off into the future, I don't know, but understanding more about these bacterias and how to even have them in your aquarium, or how to elevate them over bad bacterias and how they affect the corals. I think this stuff is crazy interesting.
And that's the $1 million question. How do we make it actionable? And I've got a lot of ideas, but I don't have a lot of money to test them. But I've got a lot of ideas.
But here's what grosses me out. It's a fine line. What grosses me out is when people are trying to achieve something to help us to get better, but all they're really trying to do is chase a paycheck. But to me, so here's the fine line. To me, it's fine that they get paid somehow for these endeavors, but it just grosses me out, all these people that come into the industry. Are you having a problem with this? Well, here's your solution. I don't want that. That's marketing bullshit. but I want good hardcore science. And just like the aquabiome stuff, which I've recently been doing, it doesn't provide you with a whole lot of answers of what to do, but I also think it's in the beginnings of what it can do for us, and sort of uncovering another thing to help us keep an eye on, or things that we could know more about. What if one day we are able to get pelagibacteria and put it in the aquarium? I mean, you cannot buy it right now.
Right
And
now.
all we can do is have aquabiomics say, oh, your pelagic bacteria is very low. And it's like, well, what can I do about that? You know, try to get some live rock or from Australia or something like that. But, you know, we can to have actionable answers.
And I think so. That's the thing, right? Is while there are people that are relatively predatory when it comes to this industry in terms of marketing, they will come in, take advantage of people's ignorance, and sell them the miracle cure. Vibrant, for instance, perfect example right there. I think that there's obviously like the most practical way to solve these problems and make them actionable is the market as well. It's ethical market use. So for instance, aquabiomics, very great tool. It would not be able to exist if it was not a product. Like Eli has to do all the PCR himself, all the extraction, right? Like there needs to be compensation there. So I think that, you know, instead of just saying like anyone pushing product bad, there should be informed, like it's kind of the same thing, right? I think there should be like a new generation of things that are developed, or existing companies should put their money where their mouth is and have data to substantiate their things. Transparency about what's in the product, how it works, how's the ICP machine calibrated? Like, you know, all of these questions that are not shown to us and we are just, you know, meant to trust the man. I want to see the man behind the curtain. And I think that's what we should be pushing for. And with the relatively small market that we have, eliciting market pressure and selective pressure on companies who do not choose to do those practices, I think is relatively easy. And I think that if new companies begin to form, and they seem to be, right? There's a like, you know, Hydrospace is like expanding their product line. There's a lot of new up and coming companies that are on this bandwagon of here's what's in it. Here's probably what it does. We're not going to claim it does everything. Try it. And I think that that's probably the future. And out with the old and in with the new. Let's see what happens, and let's have some new products that are good and that are based in that science. So a combination of these ideas.
This is why personally, I'm sorry, Richard.
Go ahead.
This is why personally I'm a little more comfortable. This is just me personally, a little more comfortable with the aquabiomic stuff over ICP. I am still not that comfortable with ICP. It doesn't factor into what I do for a living, and I don't use it much, just because thanks to Richard and some other people helping me understand it better, I just don't see it for what most people see it as. Whereas aquabiomics, he doesn't have any sort of hidden understanding besides of how complex it is. But if a fool like me can read it and basically understand what he's doing, you know, it's just he's less behind a curtain than ICP stuff is.
Eli's transparent. It's like I asked him, like, hey, what's like your PCR protocol and stuff? Tells me what he does, right?
Yeah.
Like he just like, here's how I do it. And then if you understand how Illumina sequencing works, which like fucking no one does because it's all proprietary, right? That's magic. But that's the part of it that's an unknown, but it works. I mean, that's what's used in all, like any metagenomics technology, any full genome sequencing, it's all Illumina at this point. Like it's a cutting edge machine that's like $2 million. Like it's not some plaything that we've maybe calibrated for saltwater use that we bought for 40 grand. Like it's actual academic service that's being provided relatively. So
yeah, I have a thing, but I wanted to, for people who are listening who don't know what happened with Vibrant. Vibrant was a product that was put onto the market 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess, and that it was supposed to be, it was built as a reef safe way to rid your tank of unwanted algae, and that it was bacterial based and it was totally safe. And we watched about 50% of the people have problems with it and 50% of the people not have problems with it. And then confirmation bias kicks in, and all we hear about is the people who had good successes with it. And then it turns out that it really is just an algicide repackaged. There was no bacterial component in it at all. So you've got the, did it work or didn't work? And then the straight up untruth about what was in the product. And those two things together are a big batch of a big Rice Krispie treat sheet of no-no.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just, you can read about Vibrant. They're still around. People still want to use it.
That's the name of the episode.
Crazy.
Rice Krispie sheet of no.
Rice Krispie sheet of no-no. There was one thing that you said that I squinted at, Salem, which was, you said people should try it and see if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the big.
I want to say eat a pile of ass. No. Because I
That's
did
what
say
we
that.
said at Eco Aqualizer. Richard.
Right. That's the thing. So I've seen so many products come out as, well, just try it and see if it works. And then I'm, anecdote, Ron Schimek. Do you know that name, Ron Schimek?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Ron Schimek was a big name in the hobby for a long time. And he was pretty abrasive and he knew some stuff. And then he said some crazy stuff like all of us do. Right. But what he said about anecdote was something like, anecdote is unqualified people talking about what they think they might see in a system that they don't understand.
Mhm.
Okay, I agree with that. That's yeah.
So I wouldn't put it quite that harshly, but any product that says try it and see makes me go, because like you got for KFC or for whatever the feeding concoction is, you got people saying, well, a week later things look better. This was the, in the 2000s, this was the thing that made me insane when people say, I did this thing and my tank looks better. And it was what does that mean?
There's a direct correlation, clearly.
Yeah, because 2 days later, after putting in C-Lab 28, my corals look better. And you go, what does better mean? And now it gets even fucking worse, right? Because when Sanjay tells me, or most of the, or Jim or you or Ben or anybody who I know knows things, says I did it and it looked better, I go, I have to listen to that a little bit more because they have enough experience that better might actually mean something for them.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
PolypLab. PolypLab. The lab with the polyps. The PolypLab. Yeah. Richard, PolypLab. Oh, we love them. We love them big time. What you?
It's the most Canadian ad we've ever done.
It is.
PolypLab has got a suite of products that we really like. One of them is this one here. Oh, we're not going to be able to see because my light's in the wrong place. But this is Reefroids. This is one of the powdered foods that I use for the coral spawning babies. It's in my regular rotation. I really like this food. And I really like the Genesis blocks a lot. I just sent one of the beefers, Adam, a Genesis block from my system. And because he wanted an inoculation from a system with bacteria and stuff that seemed to be healthy. So I've sent that to him. It didn't break in shipping and it was great. I really like that product from PolypLab and the Reefroids. They have other stuff as well. Check them out wherever good reefing products are sold, like our other two sponsors. So great. Thank you, PolypLab, for powering us.
PolypLab. Thank you, PolypLab.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
By the way, you should ride this boy thing for as long as you can. I think you should make sure it's a
be like, yeah, I'm young.
boy reefer,
Oh,
fake
God.
tattoos or real tattoos. You should get Let's get
Only-
Salem tattoos.
I'll
Only
get
reefs.
tattoos. I don't have any. I'll
Only
try.
reefs. Oh, you should totally. We've been making the joke about only reefs forever. You should absolutely have an OnlyFans site for reef keeping.
Oh my God.
Let me show you my RAS, baby. That's
But
a
I
long
think it should be you promoting it, and then when people log in, it's Ben.
That's the old bait and switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the you want the baby Jesus, you get the reefer Jesus.
Yeah.
So and what gets me is that new people, I'm fine with people who are experienced spending their money on whatever they want to, right? When Aqua Biomics started, I sent a sample from one of these tanks and my display tanks, and they came back different. And I was like, I don't know what to do with any of this. I don't know why I sent this out. It's kind of interesting. And then I got a little sour on it because it was like, Well, for me to get any useful data, useful information, I actually need to send samples. And now there's 2 tests, right? There's the DNA and the microbiome. I need to do it from my sump because my sump is huge. I need to do it from my display, and I need to do it from each of these 4 tanks
There's thousands
because
of
they're going to
dollars.
they're all different. I don't need to do that, but if I wanted to be comprehensive, that's what I would do. Because the tests showed that this is the one tank in here is very different microbiome than in my display, even though the water's all the same. It's one common system. And then I balked at the money. I was like, God, I'm tired of this. Is when ICP was new though, as well. I was really bummed that, we were tossing money to help companies figure out what they actually do. Which made me a little crazy, still does. But now I'm coming back to, well, wait, I have experience and I could spend my money on whatever the fuck I find interesting. And if I start to find it interesting enough to spend the money to see what are the biome differences between all of these systems, good on me for wanting to spend that money. Other than that, though, I'm not sure what to do with the data. Also, it's all in those colors, and us color perception problem people, it's so fucking annoying to get. I can't. Everyone puts up that bar graph or that line graph. It's not a bar graph. What is that? That color graph.
Yeah.
I'm so angry. I don't even want to know what it's called. That kind of graph.
It's different shades of gray for Richard.
No, it's all different shades of fucking pink and green and blue, and I don't know what the hell that is. I can't parse that. I guess on the side though, he does give percentages, so that's very helpful. But the color does nothing for me. So what is my point? I'm scared that people who are new to the hobby are spending money on testing that's not really something they need to be doing. Just like growing rotifers, right? They may not need to do it. But because it's a piece of paper and it looks like data, and it is data, people flock to it because they want to be told what to do, and they think this is telling them what to do. They think there's actionable stuff in there, and sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't. And I should probably be quiet now and let you speak to that whole massive stuff Ben and I just yelled at you.
So I'll qualify my statement, which probably undoes all of that rant. People should try things if there's sufficient understanding and data behind the practice, right? Don't do the KFC dip, But like aquabiomics, Illumina sequencing, used by every academic institution that does any DNA sequencing.
Right.
Makes
So
sense. It's like the data is not lying. You know what I mean? Like it's not. There's not a calibration thing. It's picking up on whatever DNA is in the system. Now, in terms of the issues with I think something else like about aquabiomics and what makes them different from other companies is Eli is open to feedback. So that's been something that I talked to him about, is the fact that there's obviously natural like this is not like a homogeneous, like this is a very heterogeneous kind of like solution, right? Like the water is different each spot. So I'm like, okay, like what you just said, same system, different microbiome based on where you took the sample. So he's thinking about including like 2 swabs. You can swab different surfaces and kind of maybe get a broader reading that way for the same price. But in terms of the price and the timeline for that stuff, I mean, that's not really something you can control because Illumina is just so new.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily care about the price. But it's the conversion of here's a test that exists that people are talking about, therefore I better do it.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it's necessary at all. Same way as it's like you can make it as complicated as you want. I think that there are things that can be actionable with it, and if you want to chase that dragon, there's starting to be ways to chase it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
There's not a moonshiners yet, but 5-10 years there might be.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In 5-10 years, lest anybody think I'm a complete jackass, I would love for everything that comes across our Reef table to be true and actionable and work and useful. Yes. I don't want anything not to work. I would love to be able to send a test to Aquabiomics and get it back and be able to know things. Oh, that's right. My system is famous for, no, it's not. Legion. My famous is known by anybody who knows me, which is 4 people, that I've got acro-eating flatworms, or I had. I may have actually eradicated them now. My test came back without acro-eating flatworms being noticed. but
All
this
right.
was a while ago. So it was
You can't vortex your tank to make sure all of the DNA is actually in that vial you're picking up. So there's going to be that's the problem. It's not a homogeneous solution. You're not homogenizing your tank taking the sample. So there's obviously going to, just like probability wise from like the kinetics, you just might not have that DNA in the sample.
Right.
Water volume.
Right.
It might be too low to be picked up with it'd be picked up with PCR, but like maybe there's a % loss during extraction. You know, there's plenty of steps along the way to where that might not happen. And I don't think that makes the technology any less true. Like, and that's the thing people don't understand is like, you know, the technology is there. This is not the same problem that ICP may or may not have.
exactly.
It's the sample collection is a limiting factor right now, which I think get better.
Yeah, that's why I'm coming back around to it. It's like, okay, it's been around. The million monkeys have played with it. We know it's not, there's no BS like there could be and probably is with ICP about, you know, you can't go buy one of these machines, stick it in your bathroom and start running samples.
Yeah.
God, that makes me seem like I hate ICP so much. And I don't. I'm just being extreme because that's how my brain works.
I think it's a useful tool.
All of it's a useful tool in the right circumstances, right? It's when they become the de facto default tool that that my background in philosophy makes me go, whoa, wait, guys, wait, people, you're throwing money at something that you don't need and is not giving you what you think it's giving you, because now we're talking beyond the advertising. But my point is, I early adopted aqua biomics to see. I had a bad experience for whatever reason. I was also in a world of shit in my own brain at the time. And now I'm looking at it again going, oh, wait, I'm not resentful anymore that it costs money and it may not be actionable. And I can't control people who are doing it for just because they think they should. But if I want to do it and anybody else wants to do it, you should. Because maybe it is interesting. And I throw money at stuff all the time without payback, or just to help the technology along, right? So why wouldn't I do that with this as well? So I'm
and
happy.
I think now we're planning ways to do it in a targeted way, right? To where people can throw money at it and we can get ways that are actionable. So evaluating the carbon, you know, dosing,
the carb,
what we're doing now. And that's like, you know, we're going to have like probably like a paired t-test type of thing where we have baseline 1 week. That's also like, you don't change anything. So you can see natural drift in the tank. And then we'll do a week or two of like the variable there. So a carbon dosing.
Yeah.
So then we can just, the tank has the internal control. We'll get a sufficient sample size. And then, you know, we might be able to see if there's a you know, correlation with all the tanks, the way the microbiome goes. And that's kind of cool. And we can do that with a lot of questions.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
Hey, if you like this show, if you're still listening, maybe you like the show, but there's a couple ways you can support the show and keep the show going. And that is to, you can buy us a coffee or buy us a beer. It's the same thing, which is essentially becoming a member. We've got different membership levels, and that gives you access to the super secret area of the Discord that's for members. There's a free section as well, but check out the super secret section. You get discounts on merch, and it's great. You support the show. If you don't like the show, don't support it. If you don't like the show, do support it. Tell all your friends to support it, because screw your friends, right? You need to give them some crap. So make them support us.
Do it as a gag gift.
Gag. Oh, we love when you.
If you hate your neighbors, sign them up for Reef Beef.
Sign them up for Reef Beef. And we got merch and we got all kinds of other stuff. So anything you can do to help us is great. If you hit like below, if you subscribe, if you answer, if you ask questions in the comments, and that's all great. And especially if you share these videos around, or share the podcast around, because we're primarily a podcast, that really helps us out. It helps the algorithms do all the algorithm things. Ben, have I talked that to death?
You have, and we're good.
We're good. Thanks for your support.
Where am I taking us?
Where am I taking us?
Like a real, like, let's take 10, 20 tanks. You notice how I just doubled the sample size because expense means nothing. 10, 20 tanks where we actually, you know, take pictures and have a paragraph of explanation of what the tank is, how long it's, blah, blah, blah. And here's the biomics information. So we can kind of have an idea of what a how do we know what a good tank is and what is reasonable and what is a decent baseline of the makeup of the biome? We don't even know that.
You're not gonna like my answer.
Oh, I love not liking your answer, which means I'll like it.
We're not gonna be able to do that with just that technology. We need a multi-omics approach to evaluate that. We're gonna have to see constitutive gene expression at that time. So you would also need transcriptomics. So
Okay.
RNA-seq. I think having both the microbiome plus RNA-seq, and then if you fuck the metabolome, that's gonna be coral specific.
That's what I say.
Yeah, fuck that in this instance, right? But if you had transcriptomics and the metabar coding, then you'd be able to see what families are there and what guys are being good and what guys are being bad at that moment. Because that's the thing. It's not just the family. It's not just the species. It's the gene expression that's occurring at that time. Because there's plenty of frenemies that can be good or bad. And much of the holobiome is made up of those frenemies who can just as easily turn their back on the coral. So just having the microbiome, not the full picture, unfortunately.
See, okay, this is why I'm for a peaceful world, because we're not going to get here if we have World War III. This is crazy stuff. And also the aquarium industry is not going to. The aquarium industry is like me, the middle brother. I just get hand-me-downs and extra clothes and stuff like that when I was growing up. The aquarium industry doesn't get, hey, we need some more of that, whatever you called it, the trans biome, all that. Like what? It's a medical industry that's getting that, right?
The trans
Yes.
biome.
Oh,
The trans biome.
yeah.
Oh, fuck.
What'd you say? Transcript something?
Transcriptomics.
Okay.
So it's, the metabarcoding stuff, it shows you all the DNA in a system. This shows you the RNA in a system. So it shows you what genes have been activated and have been transcribed. And then that can translate to proteins. You can do proteomics too, but that's going to be, that would be a little too
So
much.
that's biomedical. So what industry or interest or whatever in the world, in the medical world, who's pushing that envelope?
Well, I'll tell you who could do it. Dr. Eli Meyer, because I've talked to him about it. So it's a potential for us to utilize. We just gotta poke Eli enough to want to do RNA extraction, but he is open to it. So
and maybe this is, I hope I'm not out of pocket on this, but because I've been dealing with him a little bit, and the thing I'm worried about for him is him scaling this up, because he's
busy guy.
Underneath a mile of paperwork.
Yes.
He's busy.
So that's the limiting factor there, is the fact that he's strapped for time, right? He's got some chains. So it'll be like a long-term thing of me pestering him, I think. But I think that we could get that. Because, also uses Illumina. He's got the lab. He's got the know-how. I don't want to do PCR. Fuck that. He can do it as much as he wants, though. So if he's willing to do the work with that, then we could have community samples where we have microbiome and transcriptome. And that would give us a pretty good picture where we could have those 20 tanks, I think. And then we have the qualitative side where we look at coral health in the system as well. And I think it would be equally important to have negative systems where we have active disease states and see those too to compare them. And I think that's like, as hobby, like, dude, we would answer so many questions right there.
Yeah. It's the same problem though with anything that we've ever talked about testing in the hobby: time and money.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that's the whole, and it took, do the bacteria, the cycling bacteria in a bottle work? Kind of. And it took a bunch of people actually doing some testing to see if it worked. Right. But
Salem, did I hear you say that, like, not you did, but like Eli tested some of the bacteria in a bottle and they're like terrestrial strains?
Yeah. Telegram did that.
Jim, what he's been sending in. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim's been sending in. Jim is spending a shit ton of his own money on this stuff.
Yeah.
This is how this, if we don't have a centralized body to look at, position statements and best practices, the only way any of this is going to happen is by people spending their own money trying to get things figured out. And so,
I laugh because.
Go ahead. Sorry.
There's sometimes where Jim has pissed people off, and I look at it a little closer, and it's like, oh, he moved a rock where someone was making money, and the things under the rock got pissed off.
Yeah. Or just question the rock.
Yeah.
You know, people
Point
you
out
know,
the fact there's a rock.
yeah.
Dwayne the Rock
Right.
Johnson.
You know, and you can't blame them, but I think you can't blame anybody for getting mad for, you know, you're taking away their food on their table, you know, in a sense. But at the same time,
But if
I
you're
think-
peddling bullshit,
I think we've got to be better at calling companies out without demonizing them. Oh, I've never said that out loud before. That's the right thing. That's what bothers me about the flame wars, like the controller flame wars. It's like, why, you know, this is just a fucking piece of equipment. This is not, you know, religion. It's
humans will do that.
and we all know that the equipment is every piece of equipment's going to have some good parts and some bad parts. That's how everything is. But instead of going, you know, oh, I don't, you know, I'm worried about that new thing that was, oh, I've got some concerns about the Maven. You know, people have to go, fuck hydros. You know, or it's like, you know, the new Trident MP, it's the same form factor.
It's not, it's not all in one. They've lost.
Fuck those guys. And it's like, I get people, that's enjoyable for people to have those kinds of fights. But I get really worried that they get real and they translate to other people watching the fights as like, yeah, fuck that company. It's like, man, that company has done so much good for the hobby. I don't care that Aperture owns them now or whatever, or, you know, or what's going to happen to Hydros when they get bought out or get too big to be able to handle the support, you know. It's how do we call, I'd like us to call people out with kindness in our hearts rather than look at these assholes.
Richard, you're asking people to be nice?
I am. You know why? Because this is Reef Beef and we don't have 100,000 people we have to placate. Yeah. We have 1,000, 2,000 people who are kind of on our same page. And if we can all shift a little bit to stop demonizing other people that we don't agree with and talk about ideas. None of this is new. This is all philosophy 101. You know, we're talking about ideas, not people. I can call Salem's thoughts on hollow biome bullshit and date his sister and have a great Thanksgiving.
Salem, do you have a sister?
I have a sister, and yes, she is above 18. So this is now concerning. This is on Richard's mind. I'm gonna have to watch out for him at Christmas time, I suppose.
Well, you know, Reef Beef is a team.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, no, it's like the same thing with all of the discussions. I think the idea of like, how do we change everybody's mind and get everyone on the same page? It's no, we just do what we can and do a little bit at a time and hope it spreads like, you know, a fungus.
So I think there's something you identified and you touched on it. And I think there's a sociological component to this. So you said people treat it like religion. Well, as we know, God is dead, right? I think that people have attached that, like, you know, this is tribalism. This is the inherent tribalism and attachment that we have as people from a psychological point of view. And people have attached their sense of, you know, meaning, whatever the fuck, to brand identity now. It's semio-capitalism, baby. Like, it's crazy. And I think that it's pretty hard to get a lot of people to disassociate from that because it is so ingrained. People want to be part of that tribe and people want to say, fuck the other tribe. And it feeds into that existing duality that we have, good, evil. Nietzsche again, we got to go beyond that, baby. We got to we got to have that Socratic, you know, portion of it. I think the kindness angle is good. So I think maybe creating something of a formula or a general layout for people like us to talk about companies with. So I'll start. Let's have practice right now. Let's have the experiential component.
Let's set it up. It's time.
Salem's all about action. I like this.
Yes, we have to do it. We've done enough talk. It's time to act. Let's do it.
I like this.
Right? Like that's the thing I've noticed from the outside in. All of you guys have been talking for a long fucking time. When are we going to put the pedal to the metal? Let's do it.
We need young blood to reach down to that pedal and step on it.
Yeah. Well, we're also all constantly putting pedal to the metal. But that's also another phrase for that is banging your head against a brick wall. So it's both. It's tough, and I used to beat myself up that I wasn't being more effective, but you can't change everything overnight. You can't change everything in a year. You can't change everything ever. All you can do is put stuff out there and hope it pushes the conversation in a direction that you think is a good one.
I think there's something you're missing from that.
Please tell me.
You can't change anything alone.
Yes.
And I feel like
Well-
maybe that's what you've been trying to do to an extent. We need the Avengers.
Well, yeah, but it's been kind of impossible to get the Avengers because everyone was hooked up to whatever their media machine was and couldn't talk to other people in a frank
Well,
way.
I'm saying fuck that.
I'm
It's time to light a fire under everyone's asses. Let's
okay.
get on.
I dig it. I'm being an old man and going, but I tried and it was really hard. I don't want to try again because it hurts.
It's
And the
walk
answer
up
is
the hill. Try again.
And I'm also saying that I've been auditioning to be Thor for a long time. So, I'm going to do this ad nauseum. So I'm just saying, I can fashion a Mjolnir. And
I feel like I have to be the Hulk because it subverts expectations.
yeah, I think that's right. Because being Spider-Man's too on the nose.
Yeah.
oh, yeah. He's Bruce
And
Banner.
besides, I want to be Spider-Man. Not the Socratic Reef roundtable, the Sisyphusian
Yes.
Push the
roundtable.
boulder.
Yes.
And I used to say I want to be a happy existentialist, and now I think I want to be a happy Sisyphusian.
Well,
Maybe
Richard, you're basically
creation.
you're basically saying that the boulder got away from you, and you're like, fuck it, you're not getting the boulder anymore.
No, I was being resentful of the boulder, and it's an honor to have the boulder.
You
is
must
what it should
accept
be.
the boulder. You must craft meaning from the act of pushing it.
Yeah, and that's hard after 100,000 years of doing it. But I'll tell you, Salem, one of the happiest things in reef keeping that happened to me in the last year was when you messaged me about reading the skeptical articles and you thought they were good and useful.
Yeah.
And it was
maybe.
like,
I was
oh,
not aware of them. I think Rob Muget told me about it. He
Yeah.
was like, you need to look at these. And I was like, well, holy shit. I guess this is what all right. This puts words to what I'm feeling. Yep. This is it.
And
And
he wrote
that-
them a long time ago, too.
10 years or 15 years. But
For
most of
Salem,
the,
that's a long time.
That's half my life.
That's I hope that's about a third of your sister's life. My wife is not home. Most of the feedback, a chunk of the feedback from the hobby and industry about the skeptical reef keeping was fuck you. Right? Because
you were basically alone. That
Yeah,
was your
yeah.
subjective value creation. We need inner subjective.
and
We need
what
the
I
team.
have to shed my previous and learn modes of response
Yes.
because I noticed that the game felt like it was changing when Jim came on the scene. It's like Jim has got an attitude that's different. He's approaching this differently than other people. And he's a dick sometimes over here. And he's super kind and helpful over here. And then I talked to him and he's like, oh, I enjoy the dick part. That's just fun. I enjoy that. Not everyone enjoys that. If you don't enjoy it, don't fucking do it. It was like, oh shit, perfect. Right. And then you came on, it's like, oh, now there's a different tone of, or at least I'm seeing more people I think that we could have the conversation with that would be useful. And I could get out of it, which would be even better. And
That's
let it-
all. It's your escape plan. My
You know.
God. He
let it
doesn't want to push the boulder. It's his
No.
way. He wants to
He's
push
like,
the boulder onto others.
basically, this whole thing is about conditioning. You're like, hey,
Holy
Salem,
shit.
do you want to get your hands on this boulder?
Yeah. Dude, this has been really heavy, but like it's not that bad. It's actually kind of fun.
Well,
yeah, we're not talking about, don't be worried about being called a guru. Be worried about holding
Oh my
onto a
God, now I've
boulder.
got my boulder and Rich's boulder. I'm pushing
Yeah.
2 fucking boulders now.
No, it's all the same boulder. You're right. No, you're right. We doing it alone is crazy making. And you know,
don't have to.
during COVID and whatever was going on with my brain, I was absolutely alone and it was crazy making. And I'm excited to not be alone.
But Salem, related to this,
Can't wait to see your sister.
What I think is gross, and I've said this so much many times before, but when I feel like the zeitgeist of our industry is in the court of marketing and people just trying to make money off of the industry. I got excited about Salem because you ain't trying to sell shit. You're just going on and talking about ideas and stuff that don't round about back to to a product that you're pushing. And that's what I want to see
phytoplankton.
more of. Yeah. I mean, that's what you may, who knows where you end up in the hobby. You may have a product line or something. I don't care, but
products are good. Products are great. We need products and we need people to champion products. What we don't need is people to champion products, not support what they're saying, and not have discussions about what's going on with the product.
What we need is good products.
Yeah. Well, what we need is honest products and products that are able to go, oh yeah, that part of the thing that we did, that doesn't work so well. We understand that.
We farms.
We need to get better at this. Bullshit products make us spin our wheels. I hunger for more products that help propel us forward.
Yes. Integrity Coral. My God, I'm making the LLC right now. I'm on it.
Poor man's patent. Poor man's patent.
The other one you should get is the one I keep forgetting to get is a Freedom Frags.
Oh, fuck. That's it's got to be veteran owned and operated. There's no other way. I can't take that one.
You just say it's veteran owned. It doesn't have to be veteran owned.
10% of sales go to veterans. Donations also go to veterans.
Absolutely.
But you don't say what veterans. It could be Bangladeshi veterans.
So technically, my grandfather's a veteran. I gave him all of the money, and then he sent it back to me.
Yeah.
Veterans of having gone to elementary school.
Yeah. That was combat. Junior high was worse.
Freedom Frags.
I'm a veteran of the reefing industry.
And you make a Cyphastria.
Oh,
I'm
God,
sorry. You
I'm sorry.
make a Cyphastria statue of an eagle-headed man holding an M16.
Dude, we just make those little, make ceramic statues, grow the coral up them of, the thin blue line flag or eagle or just the American flag, right? Oh, an America-shaped frag plug.
Yeah.
Oh,
or
man.
Texas.
Oh, Texas.
Yeah, Texas frag plug. Someone needs to get on that. That's a gold mine right there.
Just Google it. I'm sure it's already there. We're
Yep.
so obsessed with the shape of our state.
And if you're going to do it, also do the homeopathic stuff.
Oh, yeah. Tincture.
Might as well make all the money at once. Or we should just get a shell company and do it and just not be publicly attached.
And then we can come on, the air and just feign stupidity about this.
No.
There's this awesome new company, guys. I just heard of them. They're called Integrity Corals.
I think the other way, we take them to task. These guys are assholes. They're ripping you off.
By the way, this show is brought to you by...
You should try it.
You should, yeah. Let's just end with, we're going to skip my beefs. No, I'm going to say my beefs right now, and then we're going to come back to you, because my beefs are short, and I need to get them out because they're kind of timely.
Short beef.
The first one is, Reef to Reef is doing, and I don't want to talk about either of these things. I just want to make that clear. I don't want to ever be talking about this. I would much rather be talking about all the reef keeping stuff that we just talked about. But this is part of our community, and I think it's important because it's awful, in my opinion, right? So Reef to Reef is doing it again. They are stopping. They don't like trolls, which I understand. So they put out something about what they're doing with smileys. They're going to try to restrict emoticon use. I have no idea how practically that could even work. But what's also happening in there is they're talking about bullying. So some LGBTQ people have asked some questions about, well, if you delete LGBTQ posts, isn't that the definition of bullying? You are not even allowing us to talk. And then they delete those posts. And it's like, it's really, really problematic for me. So in some of what we were talking about today, Reef to Reef, Dave, we talked. Can you guys be better, or at least be more honest about what you actually want? Because if you say one thing one way and then do it different, and then don't apply it equally to everybody, it's really weird, and it hurts the community as a whole. And you don't have to. The if you were just honest about why you were doing it, and I don't know what that is, it would sure make life better for everybody, because then we would know where we stand. The other thing that's going on is that we do have an active group of trolls in the hobby who are nasty and who are intentionally blowing things up that aren't blow upable and making up accusations about people and hurting people's lives. And I don't want to get into the weeds about who was hurt or who did the hurting. I especially don't want to do who did the hurting, because I don't want to give them any air. But goddamn, if somebody tells you, if you hear, you know, some kind of rumor that on a video there was something that was icky for whatever reason, do not jump on that bandwagon until you go and look at the entire segment of that video yourself, right? You don't want to do things that are going to hurt other people, because we're all one big family, right? In this hobby. You don't want to hurt people based on a rumor that you heard, because it may or may not be true. So let's all be better at that stuff, I think, is the only beefing. I know those are the only beefs that we had this time. Salem, actually, everybody, tell me what you are not comfortable giving advice about in the hobby.
Plumbing. Some equipment I don't have experience with. For instance, like I just use really cheap shit. So someone's like, what do you think about the new GHL doser? I'm like, fuck if I know, man. I don't know. I can't afford that shit, you know? Like, I don't know, man. It's probably great. Should ask someone else. So gear, plumbing. I fucking suck at plumbing. It's bare minimum what I do. You know, I make it work, but I'm not good at it. Any of the kind of like building type of stuff, like making a stand or whatever, making a tank, resealing a tank, all those kind of hands-on things. I'm a novice when it comes to that. Something else that it depends, right? There's low-hanging fruit I can help with in terms of fish disease. But if there's some really wacky shit, like ask Bobby Miller. You know, don't ask me. Because people are like, coral disease guy, fish disease? And I'm like, well, if it's ick, if it's brook, if it's something common, if you got a microscope image, if you got aquabiomics, I can tell you maybe here's the ways to skin that cat, but there's better people to ask about it, I'm sure.
Cool.
So those are the things that I'm not comfortable talking about, I'd say.
I dig it. Ben, you got any that come to mind?
That Salem sucks at?
Yeah.
Add on. Let's hear it. I need constructive feedback.
No!
No, I just thought it was funny because that's all the hands-on stuff that I'm well versed in. It's, you know, the equipment selection and the building and that's all my stuff.
What if a client came to you and said, hey, I want this, what would make you go, I don't know anything about that, let me get back to you, or, you know, let me hand you off to somebody?
High-level planted aquariums. I would tell them to call Aquarium Design Group.
Sweet.
That shit's an art.
Yeah.
Getting the CO2 and like iron dosing right where you don't have an algae bloom. There's a balance there, man.
Well, okay, so I could expound on that a little bit, because my fear as a business is I've always been against someone comes to you, wants this thing that is not in your wheelhouse. You see dollar signs, you go after it, you do a poor substitute of what they spent their hard work, earned money on, and it can be a complete disaster for the person and for your business. I mean, but it's tricky, right? Because when I first started, I had to sort of fake it till I make it a little bit and take, you know, steps up the ladder. Because then it's nice once you've sold a $60,000 aquarium, then you don't get so intimidated when something's talking about like that. But up until then, you've sort of agreed to do things, you know. But yeah, if someone just wanted this hardcore, you know, a mono style planted aquarium, and it's like, you know, I'm really good at aquariums, I could you know, sort of figure that out. But I'm, you know, if you're wanting results really quickly, I can, you know, I could do that with a reef tank, but I can't do that with planted aquarium. I just feel it's dangerous to when it comes to trading money, to say you can do something that you know is out of grasp for you.
That is wise business advice. I will internalize the rest of my life now.
Anything else? Any last words?
Who should be on the Reef, the Aquarium Avengers? I think the people should speak on that to some extent.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear what people say. Put it down in the comments. That's always nice.
Yeah.
And then I think the few of us who've been talking offline about it just need to make some decisions about who and make it happen. But I do want to, I think you're right. I do want to hear what everybody thinks.
5-week time.
Yeah, there are some people I don't want to talk to, but that might just be my own thing and I'll get over it.
So thank you for watching all this, and you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Salem, thank you so much for talking with us. I super hope that there's going to be, another one, because I do like your opinion, what I'm hearing here, and just keep trucking. Again, thanks saltwateraquarium.com, and thank you Champion Lighting Supply, and thanks to PolypLab for sponsoring the show.
And thanks to Snowman and Snowflake for their producing. And I want to thank the Beefers. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. Go to the Discord. It's kind of a fun place to hang out. And I want to thank Bar Bay Area Reefers is our current club member. And we dig them. It's a club I helped found that's still in existence. And boy, oh boy, do I think one of the things we need in this hobby is more local clubs with real people that you talk to in person rather than behind your screen. Other than that, have a great time and be kind and take a dip out there, everybody in Reef Beef land. Do it.
That was the most painful outro ever.
That was really hard. This is
I hope it's like just unedited, that entire thing.
that entire thing. Yeah, no,
Snowman's just gonna look at it and go,
what the
Yeah.
the snowman's gonna go fucking rich. Come on. Well, I started recording because it'd be good for
Bloopers.
bloopers.
if you're cool and you see it, then you just see it.
You know what? That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. You need your frenum pierced and a chain going from your frenum to your septum.
Oh,
the-
you're right.
Oh, his frenum is pierced, baby.
Hell yeah.
So it's the blue lights that fuck with everything.
It is. That's basically life in a nutshell.
I like I said that like we don't know that.
I look like a trucker. What are you talking about?
Let me see. Does this help?
Oh, thank God he's gone. Jesus Christ. Oh shit,
gotta-
he's back. What, did he bring a dildo back?
Oh yeah, get the douche or something. It looks like.
You're gonna love that, dude.
Rich is getting into some interesting stuff. The glass blowing's really taken on a new form.
I know. What are we doing here?
Oh,
What is that? Okay. Oh, anglerfish cocktail
Okay.
glass.
This
that's
is
actually pretty cool.
this is my maquette. This is the second attempt at doing these, and I've learned a shit ton, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, that
Bro,
looks solid. That looks very intricate. I don't know how you would do tiny little glass pieces like that, but I'm sure it's not easy.
It's a super pain in the ass, but it's super fun at the same time. And I think if I can figure this out, this kind of series will be gifts for everyone for the next 2 years.
Wait, can I call that a goblet?
Yeah, I'm gonna fill it with goblet juice.
Oh, okay. Caramel flavored goblet juice. I'm old enough to be your dad.
Yeah,
You
I
should-
think both of
you
you are. Yeah,
We're both your dad.
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, adopt me.
So shut up, Siri. Your camera's so funny. You
I
become
know.
Casper for a second. I
Ripping.
love it.
Well, you said he was a ghost early on.
I've
the
been here.
boy ghost.
We can
so yeah,
catfish them.
So and
Catfish.
catfishing. I
That's
guess
a
we have saltwater catfish. That works. And
Yeah.
and what I would like to see is I would like a study that attempts to quantify and qualify good tanks. I'm doing air quotes with one hand because I'm too lazy to raise my left hand.
Where's your other
Uh,
hand, Richard?
It's oh
Oh my God.
Happy
Wait, what was that
birthday.
one? Wait. Balloons for the people listening. Balloon. Okay, so now
Oh,
I have a
goodness.
third repertoire. Richard just had balloons come up because he did
Yeah.
like the peace sign.
And you know what? I turned mine off, so I think my machine must have updated.
We got hearts.
Oh, I can raise my hand.
Here we got hearts. We got.
How did you do that? What did you do?
That's
Is
through Zoom. I
Oh,
click a
Richard, don't do that.
button, raise hand.
I'll hit.
Oh no.
No Zeeks.
No Zeeks. What
Sorry.
the fuck was I saying? Anything interesting? Oh,
Where am I taking us?
out, out.
Get out. Get out.